Hello everybody and welcome back to Typical City. If you were just with me 10 minutes ago, I do apologise. I don't know what happened to my stream. I am having a very similar day to Manchester City in terms of technology in Manchester City. My personal situation with technology in Manchester City is shite right now because my computer is failing miserably and Manchester City failed miserably to get 3 points today. I'm hoping we can get to the end of this stream without it conking out on me, and you guys who very kindly joined me in the chat, who've probably all vanished now, and understandably so, I do apologise. But ultimately, it was a very, very disappointing afternoon for Manchester City, and I'm going to try and recycle a lot of the information that I was talking about before. Abdullah in the chat, thank you for sticking around, mate. The absence of Rodri is proving costly. Absolutely. It really, really is, mate. It really is. Very disappointing from Manchester City this afternoon. And I don't think we can all just start pointing the finger at Calvin Phillips anymore, because it's a case of who do we blame? You know, because he didn't start the game. It's not his fault that we go 1-0 down, is it? You know, we've got to look at Kovacic's mistake in the middle of the park. It was sloppy. It was really sloppy. His ball, that was a bit of a more of a miscommunication because Phillips went across, sorry, not Phillips, Foden went across his path as Kovacic is trying to find it. I think he's trying to find Doku, and he boots it straight into the heel of Foden. So miscommunication, and that happens. In that situation, you're hoping Nathan Ake, who's normally incredibly reliable and so solid in one-on-one situations down the right wing. We saw him last season pocket Saka, no problem. He's going down that right wing against Neto, and he steps in and he lunges in effectively into a slide tackle that was risky. Really, really risky for Nathan Ake to do that, and it's not like him. And then the cross comes in, and you're thinking, right, okay, Ruben Diaz is going to deal with this like he normally does, and it's just unlucky. You know, you can't be pointing the finger at Ruben Diaz for putting it into the back of his own net. It was just unlucky. It really was. I felt for the guy. He didn't have his greatest days in terms of luck, because even with the second goal, which we had opportunities to defend prior to the to actually entering the back of our net, Ruben Diaz again, I felt like the block that he put in for Hwang's shot on the edge of the area was a good one. He positioned himself, he did the usual tuck in your arms behind your back, blocked the shot, he got a touch on it, and it's just unfortunate that it just lands straight to the feet of Cunha, who very intelligently knocks it to Hwang, almost an empty net, tucks it into that empty net with only Kyle Walker, who's doing his best to try and save it. Thankfully, Kyle Walker kept his head switched on, doesn't stick out a hand, because sometimes you see defenders on the line in that situation think, I'll save it however I can, and they stick out a hand, and the last person we need to get a red card right now is Kyle Walker, because I think he offers something to this City team. He's involved in a new system for Manchester City right now. But the title is the main talking point, is the lack of creativity. It was there for all to see. We had very few chances to talk about. Long shots, hopeful, shots in the dark almost from Manchester City players. Alvarez was anonymous, and a fantastic free kick, by the way. Really good free kicks from Alvarez. But outside of that wonderful free kick from Alvarez, I rarely said his name in the watch-along. I didn't say his name at all. You know, he's barely touching the ball. Phil Foden was barely touching the ball. Doku was touching the ball a lot. And I like that. That's good news in one way. His end product is bad news for this particular game, because his end product was missing today. A lot of the times it was ending up with Doku, and it was a poor pass or a poor cross. But it was like he kept picking himself up, and Doku. And what I loved about him was he tried. Who was it who went down? I can't remember. There was a player who went down for Wolves on the touchline, rolling about. Was it Neto? It might have been Neto. I can't remember. Rolling about on the floor. Doku goes over and tries to push him off the pitch. Good. That's nice. I like to see the attitude like that. It's good that he cares, that he came on and he was trying to get him off the pitch. That was good. I thought that was really good. And Doku, I think he had an okay game. He beat his player plenty of times. It was just the end product. And it seemed like we picked Doku. It was like every time we got the ball in midfield, it was like, give it to Doku. And albeit that's a tactic to beat a player, he needs to have a better end product, because he was beating his player with ease at times. Really good from Doku, but then that cross was coming in, was a bit woeful at times. Haaland in the middle was just, it was said in the watch-along, again, the word anonymous was used, and it's right. And it's through no fault of Erling Haaland that he wasn't getting that ball, because there was no supply to him. I I thought Núñez coming off at half-time was the correct decision. It was a poor first half from him. Were the boos getting into his head? Was he thinking about the boos a little bit? There's a few of you that have joined the chat now, so I do appreciate that. KDB, Haaland is lazy. He should be doing more without the ball. There's sometimes I want to see him do more without the ball, but I think he was pinned back today. I don't think it was a case of being lazy or lack of attitude. It wasn't quite good enough from Erling Haaland. I think he was just... Nothing was there for him. There was no chance for him. All he had... If he's going to drop deeper, he's stepping on the toes of Alvarez, who also had very little involvement in the game. And I just think Gary O'Neill did an absolute number on Pep Guardiola. I think we were talking in the preview about 44 matches Pep Guardiola's gone up against English managers, and he's won 40 of those 44 games. And you can forget that now, because that's 40 out of 45. Another loss has been added to that tally, unfortunately, Pep Guardiola. Pep not being on the touchline, did that play a part? You're wondering? Maybe. Because at half-time, they came out and they didn't look that much of a difference. I'm presuming it's a suspension from the touchline, but not the changing room. And if that's the case, you're hoping Pep goes into the changing room and works his magic. Or he brings on Oscar Bob, who does pretty well. I thought he looked lively. He looked like he had a purpose about his game, Oscar Bob. Okay, he's not writing headlines about Oscar Bob, but he certainly looked okay. But the whole team didn't look that much different. There was very little creativity still in the second half. The tempo was a bit slow. It was easy, it was predictable, and Wolves were getting across. Their shape was moving across the pitch and defending with ease at times. There was very little threat on their goal that weren't just hopeful crosses into the box. And in the end of the game, that's what we were doing. We were just lumping it into the box and hoping Haaland could get on the end of it. I saw Akanji cross it twice at the end of the game. Why is Akanji crossing the ball? That's panic. That's panicking. And that's like, we're out of ideas. I'm short of ideas. I don't know what to do. So Akanji's crossing it in. We saw Nathan Ake on the wrong side of the pitch crossing it in. Doku was crossing it with his left foot about 30 yards out from goal. Hopeful at best. There was no real purpose to the tactics in the final third. From a control point of view, we dictated the game. We had complete control. I think it was 70% possession at halftime. But that means nothing at the end of the game if the final two stats at the end of the game is 2 goals to Wolves and 1 goal to Manchester City. It means nothing. Absolutely irrelevant possession if you're not winning the game. And it was a case of final third. But Pep Guardiola has said throughout his career that his game and his management style is being masterful in getting teams into the final third. That's his role. He never tells Haaland how to score goals, how to finish. He never tells Jeremy Doku how to beat a player. He never tells Lionel Messi how to beat a player. That's not Pep Guardiola. He's not going to tell players how to do that inspirational, you're almost born with it, that creativity, aren't you? That's over to you guys now. Do your thing. Go and do your thing in the final third. Okay? And Pep Guardiola's tactics worked in that sense because we were getting into the final third. We were getting the ball to Jeremy Doku, but no one was doing their thing. And it's not just Jeremy Doku because Jack Grealish comes on in the second half and it was poor. It was poor. Really poor. There was one particular moment that was just so disappointing that even he didn't believe in himself. And that was what stood out to me. Those little footsteps from Jack Grealish as he went one-on-one with Semedo in the right-back position, Jack Grealish's left wing position. And he just could tell he's not going to beat him. There was about 3 or 4 seconds of play about to happen. You could tell he ain't going to beat him. He ain't going to beat him. And then he tried to beat him. He knocked it past him. And he ends up, not only does he not get a corner, Semedo tackles him and gets the ricochet. And it's a goal kick, which is even more deflating in that situation. We need to see more from Jack Grealish. I'm not saying he needs to come onto the pitch and try and be Jeremy Doku. That's clearly not his game. Just every now and again, just something different, something a little bit more. And in fairness to him, he would try to beat him in that situation. And that's clearly what he can't do. He struggles to beat players one-on-one. It's not Jack Grealish's game. And I'm starting to question whether Jack Grealish even is a left winger anymore. Is that even his position? Is it the role of a left winger to be keeping the ball? Is that what we want from a left winger? I don't really understand that to the point of creativity. Isn't the left winger and the right winger's job to beat their players, get crosses in, create assists, cause havoc, and just be a menace to the defence? Is the word menace and creating chances ever come into the same sentence when you're talking about Jack Grealish? It doesn't. And I think he should be tucked inside. I think it suits Jack Grealish. His ability to receive the ball and keep it Wow. Incredible. Jack Grealish is one of the best at that. But that's a midfielder. That's like a number 10. And I think Jack Grealish needs tucking inside, which is a problem because that means we have even less wingers, really. I'm so glad we've got so far into this stream and it's not conked on me because I've had a nightmare with technology today. But thanks for joining me. I know most of you probably aren't watching this right now because you're watching Liverpool Spurs. I will be doing that in a minute. But I'll just read out a few of you guys who were very loyal for sticking around. Thank you very much for doing that. Really do appreciate it. Julian only stood out because he made the free kick. I agree. Soul King. Hugh Mungus, good name. So poor today. Step it up, City. I agree, mate. I think there was a lot of work needed to do. But I don't want to make it all doom and gloom, mind you. I do think this is a one moment that City fans we might fixate on it and panic. But 6 games out of 7, we are top of the league. I don't know what the score is. You might correct me with Liverpool and Spurs. I'm hoping it's 0-0 and it stays 0-0 and therefore City stay top of the league. Lessons have been learned. The issue is going into that RB Leipzig game, isn't it? Because that's 3 competitions, separate competitions in a row. We've got the League Cup, Premier League, Champions League. If you lose all 3 of them, that's form. You're not talking about, it's a little moment, a blip, a lesson to be learnt. We against Newcastle was kind of inevitable because of the rotation that was required. Wolves, no excuses today because that's full strength Manchester City in terms of what we had to go with, full strength, excluding Kevin De Bruyne's injury. And I mean, is that an excuse? Because it seems like we're not allowed excuses anymore as City fans. We're not allowed them because we spend too much money, which is nonsensical in truth because Arsenal, imagine if they lost Odegaard and Declan Rice and Partey and Saliba. Imagine if they lost those type of players that are as so important, they would be using it as an excuse. So this is the first time you've heard me use an excuse in this stream. And missing John Stones, missing Kevin De Bruyne, missing Bernardo Silva, missing Rodri, through his own fucking fault, Rodri. You've killed us here, mate. You've killed us, Rodri. Even so, it's a massive, massive loss for City fans. And City, we're entitled to use it as an excuse. I really do. YouTube doesn't notify us for the stream. I went straight in, mate, to be honest, because I messed up the last one, gamification. But apologies for the absolute shambles of my streams today. But thanks for sticking around. I do appreciate it. The referee was piss poor, says Big Morgan. In the first half in particular, mate, really was. I thought some of the decisions were a joke. Like, really standout bad ones. Like, there was I think Kyle Walker got booked for bringing a player down. It was a yellow card. I agree with that decision. It's just 2 minutes later, he's being brought down himself. Hwang brings him down, and then there's no yellow card. There was another yellow card potentially for Hwang, which would have been his second yellow card, who is the goal scorer of their second goal. He should have received a second yellow card, and I guarantee he would have received it had he not already been booked, which makes the offence a yellow card. So you can't not give out yellow cards because they've already been booked. A yellow card is either a yellow card or it's not a yellow card. So that situation was a definite yellow card, and Kyle Walker was breaking away. Hwang brings him down, and he almost lies down. Like, I hope the referee can't see me. I hope the ground eats me right now, and the referee, I'm invisible. Hopefully the referee can't see me. And he didn't. He missed him because he should have been booking. He should have been booking him. Second yellow, away you go. But there was no way a referee that particular referee, Dawson today, was going to give away 10-man Wolves against Manchester City because they would have been ripped to shreds at that point. And a 10-man against City is just game over, really, at that point, isn't it? Really disappointing result. But do not let this get to us too badly, Blues. Don't let it hurt you too much. Please don't. I really don't think it's time to panic yet. I do think we're in a title race. I think the good news, I saying it in the last stream that collapsed, was we are potentially in a 3-horse race, maybe a 4-horse race if you want to include Spurs. I personally don't include Spurs because they do not have the know-how. They are flaky, and they're Spurs. At the end of the day, they always seem to give it up. Even when they have only Leicester to beat, they still don't win the league. So I don't believe in Spurs. Maybe I might get proven wrong, but in terms of teams that genuinely do worry me is Arsenal and Liverpool. But being in a 3-horse race or even a 4-horse race is good news, I believe, because City don't worry about other teams. They worry about us. And if you add other teams into it, when we've gone into 2-horse races with Liverpool and last season against Arsenal, you've always heard Arsenal fans talk about City and Arsenal players and Mikel Arteta having to fend off questions about City. Whereas City, it's like, oh, we don't care what Arsenal are doing. We've just got to win our games. Win our games and just focus on ourselves. That's all we have to do. Just complete focus on ourselves. You start adding a third horse into the race, then Arsenal or Liverpool, they've got to start focusing on each other. And hopefully they take points off each other. You include Spurs, and then it becomes chaos. And yet we could probably stride and wade our way through that pool of chaos and become Premier League champions again for the 4P, potentially. Because they could eat each other while we're focusing solely on ourselves. And that's what we need to do. We really need to do. So hopefully Spurs can take points off Liverpool today and create a real cluster of teams that could win the title and make it exciting for the neutral. But I think City fans, deep down, we should believe that we know what we're doing in this situation. And they're all wannabes, believers, hopeful thinking for the rest of them. Whereas I think that could bode well for us. I'm hoping it does. But carry on like this and we're in trouble because we can't allow this to continue. It needs to be nipped in the bud. Training, first thing tomorrow morning, I'd be calling them in. They're probably going to get a rest. Of course, they're going to get a rest. But next day, Monday morning, straight in for training, preparation for RB Leipzig. Get all of this creativity talk out of the system. Pep needs to address this. He does, because there's a problem slowly manifesting in this City team. And if anyone can fix it, it's Pep. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. But then the RB Leipzig game will be a big clue. If we can go and win that away at RB Leipzig 2 or 3-0, problem over. The solved problem. We can address the game going forward and start looking forward to games again. Whereas RB Leipzig, now we're looking at that thinking it's away at RB Leipzig. It's going to be a tough game. And the momentum of the 2 previous losses, turn that into 3 losses, it becomes a little bit panicky, doesn't it? A bit worrisome. But yeah, Matty, just to quickly go through a few chats before I shoot off. Why was Pep in the stands today? I was asking the same question in the Newcastle game, that why was Pep... Well, how many bookings does it take to get suspended as a manager? And now the answer is 3, because that was his 3rd booking. Which is an indication that Pep cared about the Newcastle game, because surely he knew that he was about to be suspended when the referee got a yellow card and gave it him in the Newcastle game. Which I'm glad Pep cared about the Newcastle game, but surely he should have gone like, I don't need to get another suspension because we've missed him for 2 games already due to his back injury. Can't be doing without Pep Guardiola. We need him on that touchline. But yeah, section 20, Pawson was awful, but City were pretty meh. I agree. Eric Welch, hope you're doing well, mate. Arsenal fan, but a nice guy nonetheless. I know this is no consolation, but the rest of the Prem can only wish to be at the level where 1 loss is so devastating because you rarely do. No banter, just facts. I agree, mate, and that's a very respectful point you've made there as an Arsenal fan, and the reason why I like you as an individual. Because you talk sense, Eric. That's exactly right. We do fixate. And I understand why the rival fans will do exactly that. They will champion this. They will celebrate from the rooftops of their houses. City have lost a game. Because it doesn't happen. It's rare. So let them celebrate it, and it's understandable. But we need to be realistic and focused that it was not time to panic. But you accompany today's game with the Newcastle game. You're just hoping the RB Leipzig game is a comfortable win. You want to win it assured. I don't want to be coming back from 1-0 down against RB Leipzig. I want to win 3-1, 4-1, that type of result. Because we smashed them to bits last season, 7-1. And Gvardiol was in their team that time. He's in our team this time. And I know they've got plenty of other quality players that we need to be mindful of. But I want to win that game with somewhat of assurance. I'm not saying destroy them and we're going away. I'd take a 3-1. I want to see some chances, real good creativity, up our game in the attacking third. And then I'll feel much more relaxed going forward in the future games. And Arsenal, of course, is the game after that. And I haven't mentioned that, and I'm trying to avoid talking about it because I'm trying to pretend I'm not shitting myself about it now. But I am a little worried about it now. Calvin Phillips could potentially have to play because I don't think we looked that much better without him on the pitch. He didn't play today, and he's not to blame for us losing the game. I think Kovacic made a mistake, and imagine if Calvin Phillips had made that mistake, we'd be hanging him out to dry, wouldn't we? We really would. And I thought he came on and did all right, Calvin Phillips. I thought he did all right, but ultimately it's a really disappointing result. But Liverpool down to 10 men, no way. Liverpool down to 10. Hey. So I told you guys, we're going to win in this league. No problem. There is absolutely no chance Liverpool... I'm just getting giddy. No. Yeah, of course, Rodri can play in the Champions League. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Section 20. Red card for the Dippers, says Bidmore. Who was it, by the way? Who's out? That's massive, That's massive. Anyway, I'm going to go and watch it because I'm missing it, and I'm missing it dearly. So I do want to go and watch it. And go and speak to my son, who I keep saying it, and I know you don't give a shit, really, but I do. Obviously, he's my son, so why wouldn't I? But he scored 2 today. My first ever time watching my son play for a proper football team. 6 years old. He scored 2, got man of the match. Buzzing. Well played, lad. Shout out to my boy. Thank you very much. Curtis Jones. That's big, mate. That's huge because Curtis Jones is quietly a very impactful player for Liverpool. And he's not really like goals and assists, but he's been brilliant for Liverpool so far. And I saw a graphic the other day of Liverpool win percentage without Curtis Jones is like 40%, and with him it's like 70% or something stupid like that. I might be wrong with the percentages, but it was really high for with him. Him going off, big loss for Liverpool. I'm going to go and watch it anyway. Thank you very much for the congratulations to my son. Really appreciate that, guys. I'm going to shoot off now. I'm going to be doing player ratings tomorrow, so join me for that. Get a little bit more into the actual nitty-gritty detail of each player's performance. Obviously, I know a lot of you think I don't rely on stats. I give my opinion outside of the stats, but the stats tell a story, don't they? A little bit. You can get an idea. It guides you to the player's performance, but there are stats that don't tell the whole story. You know, there are performances that don't have stats associated with them, you know. So ultimately, I'll be going into that tomorrow, so join me for that. And thank you for joining me for the watch along, and thank you for joining me in this match reaction as well. Let's all go and watch Liverpool lose. See you in the next one.